Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I am going to be answering some questions that were asked on my recent Q&A post on TikTok, as well as some frequently asked questions that I see asked a lot of times in both my chat and on my posts. So let's get into it. So there's a couple different categories of questions. First of all, there's questions about my fursuit making and my therianthropy, and then there's also some questions about being trans. So I'll kind of do them in order, so I'll start with the Therian questions, then the furry questions, then the trans questions, and I will answer them. I got this list that I wrote down some questions on. So I will be reading off of this. I think there's about like maybe 20 questions that I'll answer, but here we go. So first we have, how long have you been awakened as a Therian? So awakening as a Therian is basically when you find out you are a Therian. So technically, I don't really know if I have, if this counts as an awakening, but I've known that I was a Wolf Therian for an incredibly long time. I just didn't have the term Therian in my vocabulary yet. So, I mean, when I was very young, I was like, yes, I am a wolf person. I knew my stereotype. I knew, like, that I was experiencing something that most people didn't. I just didn't have the term Therian. So I feel like I've known that I was a Therian since I was very, very young, like maybe like 6 years old, 7 maybe, younger than that even. But it didn't take, I mean, it took until January of 2023 for me to find the term. And even then, it took me about 6 more months to really realize that that was the term that I would use, because I knew the term Therian. I was like, yep, that's a Therian, but I didn't really Google what it meant to be a Therian until about July, when I was like, some of this seems kind of familiar. And it was. I'm a Therian. This is also the reason why some of my most popular videos from way back when I started my TikTok, where I'm doing the original cardboard wolf mask tutorial and my original cardboard mask video, I say I'm not a Therian. I was wrong. So people still comment on those videos from time to time, like, I thought you were a Therian. Your bio says you're a Therian. I know. I made a mistake. So the next question is, what is your stereotype, and are you questioning any stereotypes? And the answer is, I'm a Wolf Therian, and I am just a Wolf Therian. I am not questioning any other stereotypes, and I don't think I ever really will, just because I think I am only a Wolf Therian. Of course, that could change in the future as I discover more about myself, but I'm pretty certain that I am just a wolf. The next question is, how many masks have you made? So I started making the Therian style masks last July, so July of 2023. And I've made probably close to 70 masks at this point. I know I've sold about 60 maybe at this point, but I've made quite a few more. So probably about 70 masks so far. The next question is one that I get asked daily, which is, are your masks waterproof? Now, I understand that a lot of you want to do some cool videos with water with your masks, but unfortunately my masks are only water resistant. Eventually they will be waterproof when I have time to experiment with sealers, but for the time being they are just water resistant, which means that you can take them in the rain and they'll be fine as long as you let them dry, but you cannot take them swimming, not because they'll really like break, but because I've never really tested the limits of how they last in water. But from the tests I've run with some foam clay pieces, it's a bit shaky on whether they will survive. I do know, however, that someone with one of my masks has worn it in water. They haven't gotten it completely soaked, but it did last and survive. So basically it's a use with water at your own risk, but as of right now I just say they are water resistant and not waterproof. The next question is one I also get asked often, mostly in my live streams, and that is, do you get shifts? Now, in case you are new to therianthropy or the Therian community, shifting or shifts is something that you experience when you are very connected to your animal self in a way where you can feel like the animal. So this can be a mental shift, a physical shift. There's various different kinds, but I have experienced shifts. I experience them pretty frequently. Mostly shifts where it feels like my body is more animal-like than not. I also have shifts where I kind of go in the mind state of more of a wolf mind state, things like that. I don't really talk about the shifts I experience often, just because it's really personal to me, honestly, but yes, I do get shifts, and I do get them pretty regularly, so that answers that. So this next question is one I get asked very frequently as well, and this is, what materials do you use to make your masks? So I make my masks in kind of a different way than a lot of Therian creators do, because there's the very common use of the cat mask base in a lot of Therian masks. I think my dog's at the door, but I use EVA foam for the base, and I use foam clay to sculpt it, and I create a hand sculpted base for every mask I create. So I use EVA foam, and then I sculpt it with foam clay. Now, foam clay is a moldable foam. It is not clay. I do not recommend using actual clay on your fursuits, or sorry, Therian masks, both, honestly. But it looks like this. It's kind of a moldable, like, clay-like substance. It's very soft, very lightweight, and it dries like foam. So it dries pretty much the same kind of texture as EVA foam, and it is a very, very good material to make masks out of. However, there is a very high learning curve with foam clay. It is not as easy as it looks. I know if you've watched my streams, you might think that it is, like, very, very easy to sculpt a mask out of foam clay, and a lot of people have gotten disappointed that their masks kind of don't turn out like mine. And that is because I have months and months of experience making this, and I've been doing these almost daily for the past 6 months. I made almost 70 masks with it, so don't be discouraged if it doesn't work out the first time. Foam clay is a great material, but you do have to learn how to use it. As for other materials, I use minky fabric for the backing, just regular elastic for the strap. I use faux fur for the details, and regular acrylic paint for painting them. My masks are not felted, and that brings me to my next question, which is, have you ever felted a mask? And I have. I have felted 2 masks. My first one I have here, it is not completed. I never finished it, but it is my first attempt at a felted mask. I think it looks pretty good. I never added eyes or anything. I will eventually finish him, I'm sure, but that is one of 2 masks that I have felted. The other one was a part of a mask trade with my friend Katz, and that one is going to be shipped out tomorrow, actually, so I will not be showing that one on camera. But yes, I have felted a mask. And this is another question I get asked pretty frequently, and I'm going to answer it twice. First, when it comes to Therian masks, and second, when it comes to my fursuits. So that is, how do you clean them? So I don't actually wear my mask all that often. I only wear it for live streams, so I don't have to clean it all that often. But if you are someone who does quads and is regularly exercising or sweating in these masks, you're going to want to know how to clean them. So basically, this backing, what you're going to want to do is run some water and put the water on. You can use like a sponge or something, but get it damp. Then apply some kind of cleaner, like a detergent usually is what I use, to the back of the mask and kind of scrub it around. Not too much, but just enough so it gets like soapy. And scrub it around. Then use your hands and probably a sponge or something to get the rest of the water off until it is running clear. Now, you don't want to directly put this under a faucet. I've never done that. I've cleaned the backings just by hand. It takes a little bit of time, but you can do it. And then leave it somewhere very well ventilated and well lit to dry so that it doesn't collect moisture. But my masks have no porous openings. The foam is not something that holds water. So the only thing that really holds water is the backing. So as long as this backing is able to dry, you can have a nice clean mask. I will answer how to clean one of my fursuits in a little bit when I get into the fursuit category, but as of right now, that is how you clean one of my masks. You can also just get the strap wet with the detergent as well and clean the strap the same way, but yes. This is another question I get asked pretty regularly, and that is, how long does it take to make a mask? So usually, the masks are in a kind of 2 to 3 step process. The first step is sculpting, second is painting, and the third is doing the eye mesh, the lining, and the strap. So it takes me kind of 3 days to do them. I like to do them in 3 steps just because, well, first of all, I have to. And second of all, usually I'm working on at least 4 masks at once, sometimes 5, sometimes 8. I work on a ton of masks all at the same time. So in order to do that, I do them all in stages. So I'll sculpt like 3 masks in one day, and then the next day they're ready to paint, so then I sculpt the other 2 the next day, and then paint those ones, and that way I don't get bored of doing the same thing for too long. But usually it takes like 3 days to really finish one if I'm lucky, but it takes only a few hours of work, because sculpting it takes about half an hour per mask. Painting can range, but doesn't take too long, but it takes 3 days at least, probably 4 hours of work total per mask. Sometimes 5, sometimes less, but usually about 4 hours worth of work. So I get asked this question pretty regularly on my streams, because I stream a lot over on TikTok, making my masks live, and people are always wondering if they can use the same techniques or take inspiration, and to that I say, yes, go for it. I'd love if you were inspired by something I do and want to make something. Using foam clay, using EVA foam, doing similar techniques to me, that is completely fine, and you do not need to credit me for that idea. Because I don't own these materials, I don't own these techniques. I'm just someone who happens to do it pretty regularly, that a lot of people don't, tend to do, so you don't have to credit me. You don't have to. The one thing I do want you to not do is completely copy an exact mask design to every single detail, because most of these are commissions, so these are people's ideas and creations and designs, and it is kind of really mean to steal something that they own. So you can take inspiration, just don't directly copy any of the masks that I make. Of course you can use similar techniques. You can use foam clay, you can use EVA foam. Listen, have fun making these masks. I love when people are inspired by my work. And you don't have to credit me if you use foam clay. You don't have to credit me if you do things similar to me. I don't own these techniques. I just happen to be someone who does it more often than others. So you don't have to credit me. However, if you ever want to show me one of your creations, whether it's inspired by me or not, please tag me. I would love to see it. I would love to see what you make. So you don't have to credit me for anything, but I love to see your designs. So if you want to tag me, I'd love to be tagged. Now I'm going to be moving on to the more furry-oriented questions. So I just did the Therian ones, and eventually I will do the more trans-related ones, but first, let's talk about furry stuff. So first, did I make my suit? For those of you who haven't seen it, this is my fursuit. His name is Sunny. I don't have a design for the rest of his body yet, but this is my fursuit, and yes, I did make it. And the next question I get asked about him regularly is, how did you make it? So basically he's built using EVA foam and foam clay, the exact same as my Therian style masks. His ears are also EVA foam and foam clay. And then I furred every part of him but the face. The face is painted, and the nose is moldable plastic, which is another material that I use in my masks that I forgot to mention because I forgot that I use it. But that's what I use for the noses, moldable plastic. But yeah, Sunny is made of EVA foam and foam clay, and his face is painted, and his teeth are moldable plastic as well, and that is what he's made out of. So this is the big question that everyone wonders about whenever I show Sunny on stream or on my account, and it is, do I take commissions for fursuits? And the answer is, as of right now, I do not. My plan is, this summer, once I have a few more suits under my belt, I will open for commissions, or at least pre-mades. The problem with opening for commissions now is fur is expensive, and different designs require different colored fur. And I just don't have the money coming in to be able to afford to make fursuits yet, at least not custom ones. So the fur I've been using for my suits is fur that I already own. I am working on a orange cat fursuit, which is my next one, and I ordered the fur for that because it is for Frank. If you do not know, Frank is my boyfriend, and he helps me a lot behind the scenes. So my next fursuit is going to be an orange cat, but I do currently have another canine fursuit in the works that I am planning on selling, which brings me into the next question, and how much are you going to charge for fursuits? So I have a lot of experience making fursuits, but Sunny is my first one I've used these techniques for. He is the first one I've made. So I need a bit more experience before I feel comfortable selling them. So I will make Frank's fursuit, and then I will work on the other fursuit I have, and hopefully I'll list it for sale, and I'm thinking of charging $600 for the head. I know that's probably a lot of money to some, probably cheap for others, but that is the price as of right now. I will be listing it on the dealer's end when I do list my fursuit, because I can't post fursuits to Etsy because they charge so much money. that something that expensive is not worth posting on Etsy. So it will be posted on the Dealer's Den, but as of right now, I do not have suits for sale and am not open for commissions for them. Now, what was the hardest part of making my suit? The hardest part, I think, was probably the lining on the inside, because he is lined. You can't really see it, but the lining, because I miscalculated the size and had to do some not so pretty looks on the inside for this suit, which is the main reason I can't sell Sunny, is because the internal lining is not pretty, which is the only reason. So I'm going to be doing an actual, I forgot to do a seam allowance, so had to add more fabric after. But for my next few suits, I will not be making that same mistake twice, and they will be lined way better. So yes, that is the hardest part of making that suit. The next question is, how long have you been in the furry fandom? And I first entered this fandom back in like 2014, 2015, which is around the time Five Nights at Freddy's came out, which I played, and then me and my friends at the time decided to make Five Nights at Freddy's fursuits. Yes, I still have the original Five Nights at Freddy's fursuit. I posted it somewhere on my TikTok, but it is not very well made. I was 11 years old at the time, and I made a lot of mistakes in that suit that, you know, don't make it look pretty, but I did create it. And so after making that suit, I started making more art I made some personas, I made some furry characters, and I've been in the fandom ever since. So almost 10 years. So I'm 20 years old now, which is another question people ask me. How old am I? I am only 20. I turned 21 in June, but yes, it's been almost 10 years of being a furry in the furry fandom. Now, these last few questions are trans related. So in case you didn't know, I am transgender. I was assigned female at birth and transitioned to male. My current gender identity is a bit more complicated, considering the fact that I also have dissociative identity disorder, which I will talk about in another video because it's more complicated and doesn't really need to be mentioned here. But I am transgender. So the first question is, how old were you when you came out as trans? So I came out as trans when I was 13 years old. The story for how I discovered I was trans is kind of funny. I had never heard of trans people or had any interaction with trans people in my life until I was in a situation where I met a trans guy who was around my age. And something clicked in my brain when I met him, and I realized, you know what, I'm trans. So I came out to my parents right away, and luckily enough, my parents are extremely supportive. They are my number one supporters, and they help me through everything. So I was 13 when I came out, and I was able to cut my hair and start dressing in more masculine clothing around that time. But I didn't start transitioning medically until I was 16. So I started testosterone July 4th, 2019, maybe? 2022? Yeah, 2019, maybe. 2018? 2019. I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was. So July 4th, 2019, I started testosterone, and I have been on it ever since. I am still on T and plan on taking T for a while. But then I got top surgery in May of 2020. So I am, let's see, 2020, about almost 4 years post-op from top surgery. But yes, and starting testosterone and getting top surgery were like the best things that I have ever done in my entire life. Oh my god, the amount of happiness that transitioning medically has brought me is incredible. I don't regret it for even a second, and I can't even imagine living a life without being on testosterone or with top surgery. They were extremely affirming for me and changed my life for the better. I feel great. So the next question, which I get sometimes on my videos where I talk about trans stuff, is how do you have a beard if you are trans? And that is one of the magics of testosterone, is you can grow facial hair. So my beard actually goes up a little further than this. I usually dye it because I'm blonde, so I dye it slightly brown so that it shows up more. But I use something called minoxidil. It increases hair growth. It's something that is usually recommended you only use after you're 18 because it can, you know, damage your skin, and it's a chemical, so it is kind of dangerous, but it really doesn't cause much harm. The only harm it does cause is when you put it on. Cats are extremely allergic to it. Cats will get very sick. They cannot have minoxidil in any capacity. It will be very, very bad for them. So as long as you don't let your cat near your face or your head if you're using it there, minoxidil is a very good option. And especially if you are concerned about hair loss from testosterone, as soon as you start noticing that your hair is starting to thin, put minoxidil on there. It should work right away, especially if you're young like me. Minoxidil is a very, very good thing, especially if you want to grow a beard like this. I owe my facial hair growth to both testosterone and minoxidil, so that is how I have a beard. So basically, I started T at 16 and also had top surgery at 16, but it was near my 17th birthday, so I was pretty young when I transitioned. I forgot to mention that a second ago, so throwing that in there now. But then the last question I have is, what do you wish you knew before starting HRT? And there's not much I didn't really know before starting T. I kind of expected everything, but one thing that I don't think is talked about enough, because a lot of trans guys online are kind of the more like stereotypical trans guys. I grew an enormous amount of body hair. Every inch of my body is covered in hair. Every inch. There is not a spot that I do not have hair. Except my palms and the bottoms of my feet, where the hair follicles don't exist. I have hair everywhere. Including there, and including there, if you know what I'm talking about. It is everywhere. It is literally everywhere. So, it is every square inch of my body has hair on it. Now, that is not everyone's experience. In fact, a lot of people on T don't grow hair everywhere, but for me, there is not a square inch of my body where there is not hair. It is everywhere. So that is a possibility. And another thing is, sometimes your hair texture can change, or your hair color if you're blonde. I was a very light blonde before I started T, and my testosterone caused me to start growing more like strawberry blonde hair. I mean, as you can see by my beard, it's got kind of red tint to it. All of my body hair kind of does have that reddish tint now. I used to be like a regular, almost dirty blonde kind of, but like light colored, and now I have that kind of ginger hue. So I have strawberry blonde hair now. It also darkened my eyebrows and my body hair. So the hair on your body can start to darken, which is part of like thickening, but my hair color did change. And hair texture. Your hair can start getting curlier on testosterone if you have straight hair. That's an interesting thing. My hair is very wavy now. My head is currently shaved, so you can't really see that, but I am growing it out. I just shaved it January 1st for the year, and I'm letting it grow until next January, so we will see where my hair process goes. But for the time being, I am bald, so I'm wearing this hat. But yes, that is the one thing I thought I didn't know about testosterone was, yeah, yeah, there's hair everywhere. That is the one thing, and the fact that your hair color can change. So those are all of the trans-related questions. So there you have it. There are tons of questions that I've been asked, and those are most of the ones that I get commonly, as well as some that people commented on my TikTok. So if you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and please subscribe to my channel. It supports me tremendously if you subscribe and like this video. If you like content like this, make sure to follow me on TikTok, same username, Birdie Dogs, on Instagram, Birdie Dog Shop, and I hope to see you guys again. This is a fun video to make, and I will see you next time.